All right, y'all, welcome back. Today, I am honored to have a special guest that I've actually had the chance to work with in a professional capacity when I was active duty Air Force. And this high-level cybersecurity specialist is a 12-year Air Force veteran who, after honorably serving his country, transitioned to being a senior network administrator for the city of Vacaville, California. Shout out to the Bay Area, or what some may call the Yay area. And then after that, he was a cybersecurity analyst for General Dynamics. And then right now, he is a cybersecurity engineer for the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency. It gives me great pleasure to welcome my special guest, Mr. Michael Dunham.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that intro. That's honestly the best intro I ever got in my life. So I appreciate that, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, man. Spend some time with us and kind of just share your expertise. And again, for the people watching this, I actually had a chance to serve with Michael when we were crossing paths at Travis Air Force Base. I was coming from South Korea, Kunsan to be specific. So shout out to the Wolf Pack.
To the Rock. The Rock.
So I left Korea, came to Travis. And Michael was working in the network control center, which I left the network control center in Korea doing vulnerability management. He was doing vulnerability management. And our first conversation was, hey, man, help me get into that shop because I love doing vulnerability management. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. And I don't think you remember. I had to tell you that I had to do a no-notice deployment with our friend Tech Sergeant Harris to Afghanistan. And because somebody broke their wrist like 3 weeks before the deployment. And so that my favor from the chief when I got back was to go into the network operations center because I was in the information assurance / cybersecurity vault before you got there. And so I got deployed on short notice. And they, one of those things, they hooked me up and was like, well, when you get back, we'll put you in the NCC because we know you want to get out of that vault. And I was like, yes, I do. I sure do.
well, they put me in the vault in place of that. So
I appreciate it. Somebody got to be there.
It's all good, man. Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to share that to highlight what you do now, because now you're doing endpoint security, but there is a connection there between vulnerability management, endpoint security, and I believe by that time, how long were you in already?
So all right, so I actually came from Republic of Korea, Kunsan as well in 2008-9. So that's where I was at in Travis Air Force Base where I met you. Yeah, so I was actually in Kunsan where I met my wife. So when we actually got orders, it was joint orders. So we went to Travis Air Force Base. I was working communications squadron. And in Korea, I started vulnerability management. I didn't even know what it was before I got to Korea. And for that year, I was a senior airman, and they had just basically had everybody about to rotate out. You know how it is. They do 12 months there. They're rotating out. So people just got jobs. And I kind of just got fortunate being an NCC there and working on vulnerability management. And really the last year, they hadn't known about it at all or done any patch. So this is a blessing, man. And this is what I'm kind of leaking into what I wanted to share earlier or later, but I'm going to say it now. It was the worst job I'd ever inherited in my life. Okay. Ooh. It was messed up. And I had to talk to the, not the wing commander, the mission support group commander my first week on the job. So I've been in Korea for about 2 months, but my first week in this NCC job, I had the mission support group commander, who was a full bird colonel, come over and ask me about vulnerability management. And I was like, I have been doing this job for like less than a month and I'm learning it, and we're behind. And we're so behind that if we don't get a certain number of patches done to get a certain vulnerability number, they were going to kick us off the network, bro.
Turn them off.
Kunsan was about to be an isolated base away from the Pacific Air Force network because it was so bad and so behind vulnerability management. So these vulnerabilities it's not something that it can be taken lightly. If you are your vulnerability number is too high, then your company or in this case, the DOD could just say, it's not worth it to have you connected to us. It's better for us to disconnect, let you get your patches, and then put you back on the network. That's a very severe thing. That's why the mission support group commander was coming to the comms squad. He wasn't coming to say hello. Okay, he was coming to say, why are we about to not have email? Why are we not about to have internet in Korea? Where at the time it was still a war going on, right? Like it's over now, but at the time we cannot be at war, deployed in Korea, and not have internet access. Like that's not going to happen.
No, that's unacceptable. And I could tell you when I was there too, we were taking there was a lot of vulnerabilities. Goodness gracious, I worked, boy. I'm gonna tell you, I worked.
I try to leave it. Look, and here's the thing: leave it better than you found it. When you inherit something that looks terrible, you can, at the time you're gonna be nervous, gonna be upset. But when you go back to your home, and in that case, your dorm room, thank the Lord, because inheriting something real messy. You only got to do this much work and you leaving it better.
Yeah.
If you inherit something that's already perfect, it's 9 out of 10, you know how much harder you got to work to get it 10 out of 10? Or if it's 10 out of 10, what you doing there? How are you going to justify your paycheck? I'm a contractor, okay? So I have to justify my paycheck every time that joint comes up for recompete. So I don't
definitely got to show results now.
You have to metrics, right? Every ticket I close, I'm thinking that's another way for me to justify me staying at this job. I closed that ticket. My name's on it. And it's mine. I own it. I have pride in that work. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Okay. So no, that was a real good discussion, man. Because again, it was just a conversation on how we met, and I was trying to get to that vulnerability, because vulnerability management is a lot of work, but it's fun. That I man, probably the some of the best times of my life as a practitioner was vulnerability management. Way back when we were doing those retina scans, and then we transitioned over to ACAS. I'm not sure what's being used now, but because I've hung up my hat since then, and I've been stuck in governance. And when I say stuck in governance, it was one of those things, right? Like you said, right? It was kind of probably the most intensive job you had, right? For me at the time, not realizing or appreciating what I had, because every experience builds you for the next, right? To where I'm glad I did governance and as an information system security manager, cyber workforce development manager. It gave me the skill sets I needed to be able to do what I'm doing now to help people who are watching this, who want to get in, or maybe they're in mid-level, and they're trying to advance to the more advanced level, like yourself, sir. And again, right, going back to what you do now, you do endpoint security. Vulnerability management is a tie-in with that. But what I would like for you to do is describe what you do now with your role in endpoint security.
Right. So first of all, NGA, like nobody likes saying National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency. It's a lot. They like being a 3-letter agency. Out here in DC, it's a big deal to say you work for a 3-letter agency. My wife works for OSI, so that's on Quantico, where they got CSI and FBI and all that. So when we say 3-letter agency, we're talking NSA, NGA, FBI, all those agencies that was like, oh, you work for those. It's like this prestige out here in the DC DMV, but honestly across the DOD and across the workforce. But it's a prestige to say I work for a 3-letter agency. I try not to say those things, but since we in this forum, I'm gonna be a little braggadocious about it.
This audience, man, hey, flex on them, show them. This is because I want people watching this to know that that's an option. That is an option. You build those skills up. You may be able to work for NGA or one of those other 3-letter agencies. That's the goal. So that's good, man.
Homeland Security. I had an interview with Homeland Security. They wasn't paying enough. You know what I'm saying? Like so NGA was paying more. So it's one of those things where my neighbor works for Homeland Security. So she was like, hey, put in your resume and all that. And I'm like, y'all ain't paying enough for this area, man. When it comes to like the fast pass out here and just bills, bro, like it sounds like a lot, but when you calculate how much it's going to cost to get to work and to get home and to pay your taxes, that number is not the same inside the military versus outside the military. Just to talk to you, bro.
So I want to highlight something real quick, everyone who's watching this. The man just said that Homeland Security couldn't pay him enough, and I want to point that out because I really, really want to impress upon the audience that you put the work in and the time in to become a professional at the level he is. You can also say, I don't know, Homeland Security, that's not enough. I might have to go look at the NGA. That's real. So again, the unclassified version, what does a typical day-to-day situation look like for you over there doing endpoint security for NGA?
Right. So NGA is one of those organizations where it's very similar to the military. I actually really felt like I was still in the Air Force. I walk past people in uniform all the time. People can be stationed at NGA here at Springfield, Virginia. So it is like a very military kind of oriented entity, so to speak. So with that in mind, they call us endpoint security. I'm actually on the ACAS team. So it's funny you mentioned ACAS earlier.
So y'all still using ACAS? That's
yes,
what's up.
we are using ACAS. It's not exactly the same as it was probably when you was using it, but we are definitely using ACAS. We do scans, and I'm trying to talk around the classified stuff, but we do scans on multiple different networks. I'll say that way, and we have to always be prepared, right, to transition. So this position is interesting because it's very rudimentary and very repeatable, right? Everything in the DoD is either, right, they call it, I'm trying to think of the right words. They call it either industry or government, right? So it's government or other, everything else. When you're government, it's very similar to being in the military. You have all these different benefits from the government, retirement's different, your work schedule's different. Like your government position usually is going to be paid less, but have a lot more benefits and a lot more prestige to it, right? And a lot more security.
Yeah.
I'm a contractor, right? So I'm the other. I'm not a government person at NGA. I am a contractor.
Okay.
But my job specifically, the good and bad part about that is I don't have all those cushy benefits that the government people have, like that I had when I was in uniform. So I remember what it was like. Like there was some good times about being in the military and a lot of like time off and stuff like that.
Yep.
With the contractor, it's the opposite. They have, and I think about things in terms of legalism, right? They had a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of people sitting in a room and said, this is the end result of what we need when we're done. How do we get the end result of this team where this person has this skill set and this person has this background and this person has this skill set? So they start to write these prerequisites of what you're going to do. For my specific job as a contractor, I'm responsible for ACAS scans. I'm responsible for tickets in the queue. We have this thing called Service Plus. It used to be Service Now when I did a different job, but it's Service Plus. We do tickets, and we're responsible to get people results from assets that they themselves cannot scan. So basically, they need a trusted asset, a trusted third party is what I call it, to take information, IP address, MAC address, stuff like that, scan a device, scan an asset, and then produce them unadulterated, unfiltered, unmixed results so that they can see exactly what their vulnerability score is and then adjust it from there. So mind you, I'm not responsible for fixing anything. I'm responsible for scanning and identifying the security of specific assets and getting those results to them as quickly as possible.
Okay. So almost what we did when we were doing vulnerability management in the Air Force. Only difference is you're just kind of finding them and then passing it on to whatever team is the one that's doing the remediation.
100%.
Okay. Okay.
I felt awkward about it for my first 2 months there because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak, because the way we were in the Air Force as an NCO, specifically as an NCOIC, you're responsible for so many different things. Yep. If your troops are not good or not available or deployed or whatever, then that's your job. And you still need to produce the same weekly reports, weekly numbers, weekly whatever, and they had to be under a certain number or you had to explain why. Like there was so much more to the job as an enlisted person. I get out as a contractor and they're like, this is what you need to do. Don't be here for 8 hours and 1 minute. Be here for 8 hours. And And I'm like, well, what's the next thing? And it's, we're going to have some that later. I mean, there is other day-to-day things. We got to do plugins. We got to update the servers. And I had to actually learn a lot more about Linux and Unix in this position than I ever had before. And I was very upfront with them during the interview process that I had trained with it in the military, but very few practical uses of in the Air Force. Like we just don't use that. So that was something I actually had to be honest with. And because I was so honest with it, actually worked out in my favor. It could have went the other way. As soon as I told them I wasn't a Unix expert, it was one of the prerequisites. So they could have just said, next candidate. But something I want to just give as a little nugget to people, please don't be afraid to be yourself. If you get rejected for a job, you get rejected as a job. Don't get rejected being who you think they're looking for. Don't get rejected being somebody you think looks like a smart, nerdy guy. Be you, right? Because honestly, a lot of IT people specifically and the managers that are hiring you are looking for some personality. They don't want too much, but they want you to have some personality because they're so used to being people stiff and not being able to tell a joke, not being able to take a joke. People are scared to say the wrong thing. If you use that nervous energy during the interview, like I'm nervous right now, this is my homie, but I know it's recorded and I don't want to say something stupid. I don't want to say something classified. So I'm using that energy to be myself. Like, this is who I'm going to be. You can, if you was at my house right now, we're drinking a beer, this is who you're going to get.
Yep.
So I'm not going to change that in the interview process. I'm not going to change that the first day of work. I'm going to be myself. And if people don't like me, which happens, they don't like me. That's okay. It's not like they don't like somebody else. They don't like Will Smith when I'm trying to be in my head on TV. No, they don't like me. Okay. And you move on with that. And if the job don't want you for being you, you don't want that job.
Exactly. No, that's a very good point. In my line of business, what I do now, I do run into people who do have to get prepared for interviews, and I've done mock interviews. I've done interviews, and you can tell when someone is saying something they think you want to hear. It's so boring. It's boring. To be honest, it's just no one wants anybody boring on the team. If you're boring, no personality, I don't want you. And then that also speaks to a big talk amongst the workforce development community is soft skills. I think what you just said ties in the soft skills, right? Emotional intelligence, having some type of empathy, social intelligence, stuff like that, right? Is don't be afraid to be yourself, be tactful, professional, of course, but you can also be yourself in that process. That's a good gem right there. That is a very, very good gem because you and I, right? We come from that cyber IT techie circle, right? And oftentimes we can miss that whole social part of things, right? Which can be a detriment because to get to the level you're at, I've interviewed other professionals, and a recurring theme is get out there, network, get yourself some mentorship, right? It's hard to get a mentorship, a good one going if you're too afraid to be yourself. So thanks for sharing that, man. That was golden, man. That was
my
golden
goal here, man. I'm trying to drop off something that will help somebody, because honestly, my mind, this is like I was drafted to the league, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when I got this job and several other jobs before this, I felt this feeling like, mama, we made it. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to be the NBA. It could be NGA. It could be FBI.
I like that plug.
You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be NBA. It don't have to be NFL, baby. Like I'm telling you,
I love it.
That you can make it and change the generational wealth of your family, right? You know what I'm saying? My mom didn't have the opportunities, and my dad didn't have the opportunities, and definitely my granddad didn't have the opportunities to be where we are without athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Without being, and I'm not gonna, floss. I'm not stupid by no means, but I'm not like some genius either. You know what I'm saying? Like I use what God gave me to the best of my ability to find success, but anybody can do this. Like I work with people sometimes and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I know people who are cognitively smarter, emotionally like better, more, but how are you here? Right? Like, how did you get to this position?
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the times is they weren't afraid. Like if you don't apply, you're not going to get it. Okay, I would never have been a senior network administrator in the city of Vacaville if I was afraid. I went in there with my uniform on, still active duty, and it's like, I do this in the Air Force. Could you use me in the city? And they said, you still want to serve? I said, I want to serve my community.
Love it.
I want to keep serving.
Love it.
And what that line did something to them. I was like, I'm here because I want to keep serving. I serve the nation. I want to serve my city. I live here. I want to keep living here. Bro, they gave me that job fresh out of the military. I was 32, at a job where I could have retired at 90, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, look up Cal Peers, California PERS, and it shows you all the salaries of all the people. Senior network administrator, bro. I was making 92 out the gate without no.
Look that up, there you go. There you go.
Out the gate.
To your point, man, I really like what you said, especially when you come from the type of communities we come from, Brooklyn, South Central Los Angeles, right? And that is a good point, especially with some of the initiatives that I'm involved with down here in San Antonio. It's attainable. You don't have to try to be a basketball player, football player, or something in entertainment. You can make a good salary doing this, getting into cyber, if you're not afraid to put the work in, because that's another thing too that kind of my mission is to try to reduce is the unrealistic expectations, because people think that they can be like Michael Dunham and get 92,000 in a matter of a few months by taking a few boot camps. And I'm always trying to tell them that it doesn't quite work that way. For someone like you who was in that position, I'm not going to put your salaries out there, but it's good, right? But and from your perspective, someone who's had that journey, and I would say you're at the top. It's just that what's the difference between being on the moon and then just going to different planets, right? You're still up there.
Yeah, you're up there. Yes, sir.
Share with the audience, like, what type of experience does it take to become a cybersecurity engineer like yourself?
Well, I mean, my experience is very unique, but everybody's going to be unique to them, right? So just starting from, I'll even go back to this. At 16 years old, I'm staying in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's me, my stepdad, my mom, my sister had moved out. So it's just us three. And she came to my room one day. I'll never forget. She had this big, thick book. It was big, thick as a textbook. And she said, I got this book for my job today. She worked at the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Germantown, Maryland. And the book was about careers, right? And it was all the prerequisites that you needed for certain career fields. And we started going through it together. Something kind of we did. Like, I don't know if we did it like just that day or another day, but I remember getting to the C's and I was tired of reading this book. Because it's a textbook, right? And so I got to the C's and I got to computer information, right? Computer information management. And the prerequisites in the book was like a bachelor's degree. The salary was what I was looking for at the time, as far as like the median salary was like in the 80,000 or something. And I'm 16 years old, right?
Hold on. You said the median income back then was the 80,000, and this was what it had to have been like in the 90s.
No, this was like late 90s, early 2000s. Computer information management it was a high salary back then.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like I had this goal in my head that I was going to be working in computer information management. I didn't know what it was specifically, but I knew if I got a degree in that and if I got a career field in that, then it could take care of me and the salary would be what I want. And so from that point on, my mom would talk to me about, college. We would actually stay right across the street from Montgomery County Community College. And so that was my goal, was to go after I graduated to go to that community college and start my path. And I actually wound up changing, and I actually signed up for the Army to be a weekend warrior and go to college. And I got to MEPS and I ran into this tech sergeant who changed my life. And he said, let me see your ASVAB score. And I had like really high scores in the 80s. And this dude was just like, have you heard of the United States Air Force? Do you know that we have computer stuff? Like, you go to the Army, you're going to deploy. Like right now, you're going to be in Iraq. You're going to be in Afghanistan. And I was like, what? So I literally reneged on that, and changed all my stuff up to the Air Force. And he got me in the Air Force as a computer operator. So my first job in the Air Force was 3COX1 computer operator. So my entire, after high school, my entire career field, my career path was all computers. It was all information management. My first base, I started doing boundary protection and proxy servers, blue coat proxy servers, Sidewinder 2 firewalls, understanding what it is. Yeah, so understanding what it was to set those up. And then my first base, I went to theater deployed communications, where we would literally set up networks in the middle of like New Jersey in the field somewhere, and they called it Eagle Flag. And like we just had to set up a network.
Eagle Flag.
Yeah, we had to set up a network and pretend like we was overseas. And so this was where I started to like really grind my teeth. So when you talk about me grinding my teeth, it was in 2004, bro. That's almost 20 years ago. Like I was setting up networks and doing. So when you talk about salaries and all this stuff, I don't think about it in these terms. But literally 20 years of being on enterprise networks. It just going into the Air Force and checking your email is a big deal. People don't get it that way. But saying now you can translate that into a resume of interacting with an enterprise network, checking information systems services that is, $1 billion network. Not everybody has access to the United States Air Force network. It's Microsoft's biggest customer is United States Air Force. So you working for them, you working with them, is saying, I've worked for one of the biggest corporations in the world, one of their biggest customers, I log onto that network. But people don't put that on their resume and don't frame it that way. But just having access, and I'm not even talking about being a computer person, just having access to your email.
Touché. Good point. Good point. No, that was I don't think we never really had a chance to talk about your whole journey. I'm actually inspired. So I want to encapsulate that. So over 20 years of experience. Over 20 years of experience.
Yeah, and I don't want to
pretty
say that
much
to scare anybody. There's a lot of people that I work with that don't have that much experience. I'm just telling you my specific journey. I had a goal before I ever got with the Air Force that said, this is what I want out of you. This is what I expect out of you, Air Force. I want to have at least a bare minimum experience on the this network as an administrator, and I want to have a bachelor's degree. That was my basic thing that I wanted from the Air Force. They gave me much more than that. I have a master's degree now, but my basic thing was that bachelor's and that communications and computer experience, and that what I didn't know at the time about the camaraderie and the fraternity of being in the United States Air Force. That job right there, the senior network administrator of the city of Vacaville, one of the supervisors, not my direct supervisor, one of the supervisors was prior Air Force. And so it was said either directly or indirectly that they liked my personality, they liked my resume, but they also wanted to give an Air Force guy a chance, like literally, quote unquote,
I like
chance.
it. I like it.
They had an incentive outside of just who I am, that they wanted to give me a chance to grow and to learn, this world outside of just the DoD network, because the municipality network was a network on its own. It was a completely different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And see, you said network a few times, right? And that goes back to something we talked about earlier. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to network. Because you used Air Force as the main example, but there are different networks, right? Let's just say you're a student at Texas A&M. Get to know your fellow alumni. Stay in touch with them. Maintain those relationships. Relationship management is actually an ITSM principle. So please don't sleep on that. If you're in the ITIL, and I'm kind of, this is probably one of the most advanced conversations I've had since I started this platform. But as advanced as this discussion is kind of swerving into, at the root of it is just something very simple as relationship management and networking. A lot of people, I think, miss the mark when they're trying to get into these advanced cyber positions. But you just said a whole lot to just the brotherhood, sisterhoods, fraternities, networking. For everyone watching this, please do not underestimate the value of being able to build relationships, manage those relationships, nurture those relationships. And don't just be a taker, be a giver too. If you've reached a level like Michael, right, don't be afraid to give back and be a mentor, because what Michael was doing right now, and I definitely appreciate it, he's coming back, giving back to the community, sharing his experience as a mentor. So, hey, man, I salute you for that. I kind of want to, what would you say to get those high salaries that, of course, everybody wants when they're trying to get into cyber and cybersecurity? What would you say is an average? Because you have 20 plus years, but so people don't get scared away. What would you say is kind of like an average amount of experience one would need to get that type of position that you have?
If I was hiring somebody, I honestly wouldn't even look at somebody unless they had 7 to 10 years of experience for what I do. Like, if you don't have 7 to 10 years experience for what I do, there's no way you're going to be able to be on the cutting edge and still know the basics of Unix and which ports should be open and which ports are suspicious. Like, there's so much that goes into our job, because, mind you, AI is catching up every day, right, to the human brain. Right? It's getting closer and closer to look at every job you have, whether it's checking yourself out at the grocery store, whether it's, the arm for Amazon, the cars are driving themselves. So if you're not paying attention to that, you're already behind the curve a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Be paying attention to the jobs that are already replaced and the jobs that will be replaced in the next 10 years. Like, I'm talking even truck drivers. I'm saying pay attention to the jobs 100%. That will be replaced really soon. And obviously don't put yourself in those positions. Real quick, the caveat I'm gonna give you, just because it came to my head, what the pandemic showed me is it's not good enough to have one good, strong hand. You need to have at least 2 hands, and your other hand better be good enough that if your right hand is unavailable, it can sustain you. And what I mean by that is, the only thing you do is cut hair during the pandemic, you couldn't make money. If that's the only thing you did.
Good point.
Right? They literally made it illegal for you to make money. They made you a drug dealer just for trying to cut hair. So what's your left hand talking about? Because you better go out there and cut some grass. You know what I'm saying? Your left hand better do something. So
yeah.
And what that means in IT specifically, information management was my first like true love. What I really wanted to do, I wanted to learn about the ones and zeros and what made a computer a computer. I wanted to learn actually how to be a coder and do all this. That wasn't, it wasn't easy for me. It wasn't natural for me. Like, and I'll admit it, I failed at it. As many times as I try, it's like trying to learn Spanish. Like I know a couple of words here or there. I can run a couple of scripts. I can get myself through my job, but I'm not a coder. As hard as I try, it's just not for me. But what I fell in love with and what I was kind of forced into when the Air Force changed from computer operator to cybersecurity technician, I had to learn about the security of a computer. I had to learn about the vulnerability and how risky it was just to be on the internet.
Yeah.
And a little bit, just to share a little bit more, I was diagnosed with something called, what was it? What is it? I'm sorry. It's
all good.
Just give me 1 second. It's hypervigilance. So I was diagnosed with hypervigilance getting out of the military, and it just was, I was always afraid, always
on
thinking
alert.
about what if. I mean, it's stuff that is normal. So everybody should be like, if I cross the street, I look left and right because I might get hit by a car.
Yep.
Hypervigilance is, I woke up, I could have dropped in a sinkhole when I was sleeping. You know what I'm saying? These unreasonable, unrational fears that make you say you don't even want to go outside your house. Then if a pandemic hits and you already have hypervigilance, you know what I'm saying? Like you see,
you're already
you already heightened alert. Like I already know germs are real. It's sad that it took all this to tell everybody else that germs are real.
Yeah.
But I was very aware of germs for a very long time, right? And so what does that mean? It means I have access to hand sanitizer. It doesn't mean like I have to use it or I'll die, right? Like, so now there's a way to go throughout this. What I'm saying is I use that negative aspect of my personality professionally so I can be hypervigilant cybersecurity.
I like it.
If you're hypervigilant in cybersecurity, then you're the type of company I want to hire. You're the person I want to hire that's always looking after me and my assets because you're always aware that somebody's trying to come get me.
I like that. I like that. And I always tell people, right, once you've been exposed, right, to cybersecurity, I don't trust nobody. I got trust issues. We got trust issues. Sounds like you fall into that category too, right? Especially with my workforce development community friends. I tell them I don't trust nobody. I don't think I wasn't given that official diagnosis of being hypervigilant. But dude, once you've seen some of the stuff we've seen, how do you not walk away being hypervigilant?
Right. Seriously. And it makes sense to me. But all that put it into a perspective of saying I had to pivot. This is not what I wanted to do or my original goal. When I found out this just wasn't for me, I stopped beating my head against that wall. I let the programmer be the programmer, you know, and I became, you know, what,
there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's what I'm trying to teach whoever's out there that's learning. It's like, if something's really super, like not for you, but you think is right for the money or whatever, don't get a degree in that. Don't get your cert in that, because spending 60, 40, 80 hours a week doing something you hate, bro, I don't care how much money they pay you. You're not going to want to do that. Sis, you're not going to want to do that. For that, do find out what is not necessarily the easy path, but something that you're passionate about. Because even if it's hard, if you're passionate about it, you won't give up on it. If you're not passionate, once it gets hard, bro, I'm out of here. Especially before the checks come. I've seen people walk away from my job just because of the redundancy. It gets over. It's like the same thing, right? But for me, I'm feeding my family, so I'll do the same thing. But if you don't have that motivation, you're not going to want to do the same tickets and run the same scans and tell people the same stuff, like send the same emails. Like, it's computers, right? It's going to be repeatable at some process. So endpoint security, especially the ACAS team, might not be for someone who wants something dynamic and changing and all this. My job is very stagnant, bro. You go in, you do what you're required to do, you clock out. Like it's not easy work. I'm not trying to say nobody is easy, but it's very repeatable. Yeah. The problem becomes, and why cybersecurity wants so many prerequisites before we start, because there's a thing about prerequisites in here. And just real quick, to me, to get this well over 100,000 a year, top secret TS SCI clearance with a poly. So I had to get a polygraph after I got the job within 6 months. You had to have a bachelor's degree and 6 years of job-related experience. DOD level 1 DoD level 2. So I needed my Security Plus and my CYSA, and then all this other experience in Linux and all this other stuff. That stuff between me and you is a lot of waivable stuff. It's on there, it's documented, but we can train you on that. If we like your personality, not say we, but the hiring manager, if they like if you have at least the bare minimums of the bachelor's degree, the job related experience, that could be waivable too. You've got to have a TS SCI. And to ask me how a civilian gets that, I have no clue. I was grateful to have it in the military, and every job I had, I was either in a skiff or on a NOS somewhere. So I continue to maintain it. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't even know how to tell somebody to join the military, how you go about it. I mean, I do have a neighbor that went through bachelor's or master's degree program in IT, and somehow they're getting sponsored, through a job.
It's doable. It's doable.
But it's very rare. I'm just being honest about that. Like, so my security clearance does get my foot into some doors that other people might not, but I don't want that to scare nobody. I'm just being honest. There's a lot of opportunities that you don't even know about because, there's a thing called clearancejobs.net, I think. If you're on there, don't be on there unless you want a whole lot of recruiters hitting you up, because it's like blood in the water. Once they know you have a clearance, they don't care nothing about your education, your search, or nothing. They know you have a clearance. They know there's thousands of jobs that need to be filled, especially in the DMV area. So I put my resume on there and I took it off there almost a day because I had like literally 30 or 40 people, which is like, and I was like, whoa, that was way too much, man. And
no, you just hit us with a whole bunch of golden nuggets.
My bad,
man.
bro.
No, you're good. No, this is good. This is all good, man. These are golden nuggets, man. And I kind of want to pick a couple of them.
Go ahead.
For the people that are watching, because you did a good job kind of highlighting the type of experience that between 7 to 10 years. Because what I tell people who are brand new, never did anything IT cyber related, I always tell them, if you truly want a cybersecurity career, like for real, and you're really serious about this, give me 10 years. I need 10 years because based on our experience as practitioners, right, we had to navigate through the different disciplines, the different domains, the different tiers, whatever you want to, call it, because you have to go through all these different aspects of the profession to be able to protect it the way you do now, right? And a lot of people, they just undervalue just old school experience, man. You cannot get around that. And I'm glad you shared that because you're up there, in pay, experience, prestige, as you shared earlier on. But it took time. It didn't happen overnight. Your journey was a 20 plus year journey. And you did share that can happen between 7 to 10 years. The thing about the clearance, right? What I'm seeing from my vantage point here in San Antonio, there are more and more companies that are willing to sponsor clearances just because the need for cyber talent is it is high. It is there. The need is there. It's not going anywhere. And it's only it's only becoming bigger. Like that demand is growing. So I would like to take that and share with anyone watching this. One, stay out of trouble if you're young. If you're older and you got in trouble, I don't know what to tell you. But if you're young, stay out of trouble because maybe you can get sponsored because the whole government contracting pathway is an option for you. And you don't have to kind of get stuck and you don't have to just work for a Google or an Apple. Those are good too. But what Mike just kind of shed light on is a whole different grouping of opportunities in the government contracting sector. Stay out of trouble, but be willing to get that experience. Do not try to take shortcuts, man. I see it all the time. People just I recently had a conversation with someone who was considering an IT course, and she shared with me that she wanted to skip like IT fundamentals, go straight to Security Plus because she heard she could make more money for Security Plus. And I tried to explain to her, doesn't work like that. Maybe in government contracting, you can get away with that, but at some point they want to see experience. Right. You will get found out real quick if you were just able to study the book and pass. But once you get on them systems, they're going to see. And you said it several times at the beginning of this interview, people want results and people overlook the results. Especially in business. When we were in the military, yes, we needed results, but military is nonprofit, right? What you're in now, private sector, yes, you guys support a government mission, but the private sector, that's a for-profit. So, and you said that you have to be able to clock your hours and show the results of what you're doing for the government. You cannot, we can't miss that, right? So people watching this, don't forget the business impact side of IT service management, cybersecurity. You cannot miss that. You're coming into this, just remember, what we do in cyber is just a service. You're serving some mission, some type of impact. So do not forget about that. And I appreciate that for you sharing that. So this was great, man. I'm loving this. And again, just for the audience, I did give Mike the open invite to be recurring guest because he has a lot of knowledge to share with people. But as we wrap this up, do me a favor and share one piece of advice that someone could use right now for someone who's trying to get in, or maybe they're in and they're trying to advance in their careers.
Well, I would say, honestly, reverse engineer it. Figure out where you want to be. Figure out, look, LinkedIn is a very open platform. The internet is a very open platform. There's a glass door. There's all kind of opportunities for people to tell you. And Reddit is a really great source of information. It's a great source of garbage too. But if you're looking for the right stuff, you can go on some places and find some good information that people, just like I'm telling you right now, this is what I do every day. I actually like it or I hate it or whatever. And you can start to gather and build your career, just like we do in video games, right? Just like we do in on the phone or whatever. We build something and we have an ultimate goal of what we want to do. It's kind of amazing to me how many people kind of just go into the workforce and just let the workforce dictate how they're going to make money and what they're going to do. You have an opportunity right here and now to say, in 5 years, I want to be here. In 10 years, I want to be here. I want to own my own company. I want to do this. And then reverse engineer. How did this person get to that place? What is the prerequisites? I just Googled my own job so I can get the qualifications so I can give you, so I wouldn't be lying. I knew it was recorded. So anybody can Google my same job and look at the qualifications and say, do I meet, which one of these can I check off right now? And then next year, if you can't check off at least one more of those things, then don't tell me you want to do what I do, because it takes you wanting to do it, knowing what the qualifications are. Let me give you, if anybody y'all's in school right now, if you don't print off the syllabus the first day or first week of class, don't tell me you want to pass that class or get an A. If you don't even know what the requirements are for each week of class, you can't tell me that you are trying to meet them. You don't know what the requirements are. So if the one thing I can give you, if you want to be where I'm at, making enough money to live in a nice house and not worry about your bills and all that stuff, you need to say, that's what I want. What are the qualifications? What am I doing to work toward it? You do that and check in. I promise you, success will find you. Success will find you if you plan it and work toward it, man. It happens. It happened for me. I'm working at it every day. I'm not done yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even 40 yet. But I'm telling you, there are not many people in that place that's doing what I'm doing and making what I'm making. I'm just saying that. And I didn't do it by accident. And it wasn't something that just happenstance. The master's degree, the certs, the TS clearance, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? I went out there. If somebody's in this position, they're advertising, asking for somebody. Why not me? Why not me be in that position? Why not you? Go out there with that mentality. Go out there and get it, man. Like it's out there for you. I promise it is.
I like that. Now, thank you. So again, man, you dropped so many nuggets. I'm like, okay, which one do I hold on to? All right. Be intentful. I picked up on that. Have intent. Like you said, don't let the workforce navigate your path. You navigate it. Do that research, reverse engineer it, like you said, and then move with intent. I like that. That was awesome, man. That perfect way to sign off on this, man. We got to do this again, man. This was awesome. I thank you. Again, anyone who watched this, please, I hope you take these golden nuggets that Michael shared with us. Other than that, as I always say, cheers to your success.
All right, man.